Well, I'll be a son of a gun. The New York Mets really did it. After faltering in a very deflating Game 2 loss last night to the Padres, they got set for a series finale, a day game, something that's plagued this Mets team what feels like all season long. They have not gotten the offense going, or they haven't had the pitching. It's been the one or the other. But today, I'm so happy to break down the Mets securing this series victory here over the San Diego Padres. How we doing, everybody? It's your guy Wardy here, back at it with our latest New York Metropolitan post-game show presented by our amazing sponsors at SeatGeek. Utilize our promo code WARDY10. That way you too get 10% off your next ticket purchase. Thanks to my great friends at SeatGeek, I secure tickets to UFC 322 this November at Madison Square Garden, where we're going to see Islam Makhachev defend his title. I'm so excited for that, my first UFC fight, and that's all thanks to my great friends at SeatGeek. And of course, they utilize their promo code to get 10% off my next ticket purchase, so make sure you guys do the same, whether it's for Mets tickets, comedy show tickets, NFL tickets, you name it. Link down below. Thank you so much. And we got an amazing victory to break down, everybody, so I want to see those W spam right here, right now, here in the live show, and all of our replay viewers. I want to see the W spam down below, as well as your biggest takeaways from this amazing series victory for the Mets today, because the Mets went out and they got it. What did they do? They secured a series victory against a top dog between the two there in the wild card standings, because the Padres were 5 games up on the Mets here entering this game. Now the Mets are just 4 games behind San Diego. They still have solid ground currently in that third wild card spot, and Jonathan, after towing the rubber a Friday night against Jacob DeGrom, looking like a shell of himself, couldn't even get out of the first inning. He got a great pep talk from Sean Manaea, in which Manaea relayed, you see Jacob DeGrom over there? He went through the same exact thing early in his career. If he can go through it, you can too. Just take everything for what it is moving forward. And Jonathan today utilized that fastball brilliantly, so night and day from his first start, to go from his worst start of his young career to now his best. That is what the Mets got in Jonathan, as he dazzled, striking out now. What we saw, not just a big number, but folks, a career high for the young rookie right-hander, everybody. Jonathan finishes with no earned runs allowed, 8 strikeouts, no walks, and 82 pitches. We have a lot to say about Tong and what he did today, because this was a dazzling start, and this was a statement start to prove why Jonathan, for now at least, deserves a stay in the fold for this Mets team and their rotation. With so much uncertainty, with so much little consistency, the one thing that has been a constant is that the kids, more often than not, have provided success to this rotation. Noah McLean stepped up, Brendan Sproat stepped up, and now it's time for Jonathan to be that guy. He was most certainly that and then some in this series finale victory today. Shout out to Jonathan, as well as shout out to this Mets bullpen, because they got the job done, and 4 brilliant innings headlined by Edwin Sugar Diaz, shutting the door down in the snap of a finger that we saw in the 9th inning. A Padres team that's viewed as one of the best, if not the best bullpen in baseball. The Mets looked like the better squad between the two today and in this series. And on the hitting end, this is how the ball game ended, everybody. What do we see? More home runs. We're going to get into the Mets hitting not 1 but 2 home runs today. They have now smacked 6 home runs over the past 24 hours. And now, just like that, everybody, with this series victory against the Padres today, the Mets are now at minimum 2 games up on the Arizona Diamondbacks, 2.5 games up on the Cincinnati Reds, 2.5 games up on the San Francisco Giants. Should the Mets continue their winning ways, and should these teams continue their respective losing ways, the Mets will gain more ground and more stability, and hopefully some level of comfortability there in that final wildcard spot, if they cannot climb the greater mountain, which would be to surpass the Padres before everything is said and done this season. A lot to get into in this one, everybody. A lot of breakdown. Before we do, however, Steve, thank you so much for the $2 holla. I appreciate that. Yes, the magic number is now down to 8 for this Metropolitan squad. We got a lot to get into, from Jonathan's dazzling performance today, as well as an offense that did exactly what they needed to against Vasquez and this Padres lineup. And Nick Lehner, thank you so much for the $10 holla. Bullpen only allowing 2 base runners over 4 innings is huge. Glad to see Tong's great start wasn't wasted. It was not wasted, correct. The Mets wasted Brandon Sproat's great start the other day. Hopefully they don't waste it tomorrow, as he chose the rubber for the series opener against the Washington Nationals there at home this Friday night, everybody. Folks, speaking of Mets baseball, I will be in attendance tonight there for the AAA Syracuse Mets game against the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs in the Lehigh Valley. That's not far from me where I reside at all as a PA resident. And Kodai Senga is towing the rubber for likely his final start in AAA Syracuse before getting the call of the Mets. So I'm going to record some content there later on today, and I'm going to combine that, everybody, with our video that'll be dropping either late tonight or early tomorrow for our latest Big Mets update segment. We have a lot to get into as Reed Garrett is back on the shelf, as we know. Terrence has returned. Tyrone Taylor's right around the corner. Sean Manaea is on the paternity list. A lot's going on with the pitching moves back and forth, left, right, and center. But Kodai Senga is looking to dominate, hopefully one more time in AAA before getting called back up to this Mets squad. And I will give you guys an inside look, a sneak peek from the ballpark itself there, Coca-Cola Park there later on this evening. That'll drop for content tomorrow, more than likely, to let you guys know what is happening with Kodai and what's going on with him getting himself right in AAA, everybody. But before we break down this huge series victory, shout out to member Mike Nixon for being an amazing member here of 16 months. Thank you so much, my guy. Thank you. Really do appreciate you chiming in. Let's let it rip as we always do. After every big victory throughout the 162, everybody, we got to get it set with the one, the only, the Rally Lobster in hand and all. If you know, you know, the inside joke that we've been doing the platform for a while. And with the one, the only, the official, you know it by now, baby, Series W edition, Rally Lobster edition, WardyNYM post-game jingle. Let's do this.
Post-game. Post-game. Calling all Met fans, come and join us now. Talking about this game and gonna break it down. It's Mets post-game.
Shout out to my guys, Greg and Jordan, as always, with the WardyNYM post-game jingle. We love them. We appreciate them. What I don't appreciate is this schmuck I call my camera right now that just cannot stay focused to save its life. So I apologize for that, everybody. Let's rear back in. There we go. Every single, for the split second that I look away, it's just like, okay, let's go blurry on you, Wardy. That's okay. Now, everybody, let's get back in this one. Let's break it down. We got a lot of our members watching live right now. We got Juliet Hawkins, great member in the chat. We got Rebecca, great member. JTB, great member. Steve Long, great member. DMAC, great member. If you guys would like to become members on the platform to get exclusive perks as well as emojis, shout outs, member live streams every single month here, a Q&A with yours truly among others, check it out. Link down below in the description, everybody. Thank you so much for that. We got all you guys in here. We got Camp, great member. How are you? We got NY Committee, great member. Happy to have you in here. We got DMAC in here. JTB, great member, all you guys. I know we got PB9 around here somewhere, I'm sure. Dave Kaplitz, my dog, is in here as always. The Gray Ghost, how you doing? James Carroll, great member. Juan Diaz, great member and moderator. Mike Nixon from earlier, great member again. Happy to have you in here, baby. Jojo, great member. How are you? Thank you, everybody, for the donations earlier and the continued ones. I really do appreciate that. Let's see. Scott Sandler says post-game, the final 9 are here. They are here, everybody. In case you're wondering what Scott is referring to, 9 is the number. The Mets only got a couple of games left this season, everybody. Less than 10, and they secured, in my opinion, their biggest series victory at home in a hot minute. This is without a doubt the biggest series victory the Mets have had at home since their series sweep of the Philadelphia Phillies a couple weeks ago, before everything went awry for this team yet again. Juliet, thank you so much for gifting the membership in here. I really do appreciate that, everybody. PB may be at work 100%. This is a day game, obviously. That's why the post game might not be as spicy as it typically would be in the evening, but that's why my replay game, to the thousands of you guys watching this on replay, let me know all your biggest takeaways from today's big victory for the Mets, because we're going to get into the dazzlingness that was yet again in Mr. Jonathan. And as you guys know the drill by now, I'm going to ask each and every one of you, how would you grade Jonathan's final line on a scale of 1 to 10? I will share my grades with each and every one of you here shortly, everybody, but we will break that down once again some more in his arsenal. What he did so right today, and what was the biggest differentiator with Tong and his confidence here today versus what we saw his last time out there, where he was quite literally a shell of himself. KC, thank you so much for the $5 haul. I appreciate that. Must take 2 out of 3 from the Nats. Zero excuses. I've said that countless times this season when it comes to series this Mets team should be winning. Don't care who's pitching, who is hurt, cannot have another Marlins series letdown. I 100% agree, my guy. Let's just hope that we actually see that come to fruition. Like I said, guys, tell me your final line grades once we get a breaking down Tong. I don't want to see him yet, just because it's not part of the discussion yet, everybody. Final thing that I have to relay as well, folks, is that if you guys have not already, make sure you check out yours truly there in the Bleacher Report app, because I have you covered with a Mets recap of 2 to 3 minutes, recapping every single Mets game throughout the course of the season there in the Bleacher Report app. Simply head over to BR, type in Mets, and then scroll down till you'll see thumbnails that look like mine, because they are mine. See my logo in the top right corner over here? That's yours truly right there. So this was my video from yesterday that dropped earlier in the AM for the Mets dropping their past night's game. I will have a video on the series victory for the Mets dropping later on today in the Bleacher Report app. Make sure to check it out, everybody, as we continue to do a lot of fun work. And I also did a segment with them today on the Arizona Diamondbacks and if I think that they will make playoffs or not. I broke down how they can and how they may more than likely not. And I got into all the pros and cons with that one and how it went in hand with the Mets and their current pursuit, obviously, of postseason play. But folks, let's break down this ball game. Let's talk about how the Mets today had some big bops when it came to the home run galore, because they had 4 home runs yesterday, right? And the Mets, for just the 3rd time this season, lost a ball game with at least 4 home runs or more. So it was imperative to get on the step in the right direction today to make sure that if they were getting the long ball, that hopefully would be more than solo shots. Hopefully it would be more key production, and thankfully that is exactly what happened. But in the beginning of the ball game, it was more the same that we saw from a day ago, because first we see a nice early inning there for Jonathan. He gives up a 1-out single to the hit Scott himself and Mr. Luis Arraez. Then Manny Machado would single that we would see, but after the Manny Machado single, we would see that be a situation where then Jackson Merrill strikes out swinging, and the Mets get out of that unscathed, thankfully. So even though Manny had a single, we would see that be out there because he'd be thrown out at second, which would be huge, trying to leg that single into a double, and Jackson Merrill struck out. Jonathan gets through that unscathed through 1. In the bottom of the 1st inning, the big bats came to play, and that was the polar bear and Pete Alonso. Alonso sees the 41 home runs that Juan Soto has hit this year and said, I want to get in on that. I want to be the home run king again. He's trying to. He's climbing his way back as the polar bear, as Alonso, for the 4th time in as many games, hit himself a home run. This time with 2 outs, Alonso smacks a big bomb there to dead center that we saw. His 37th home run this season there for the polar bear, and that gave the Mets at the time that we all saw a 1-0 lead. 109 miles per hour off the bat there, 445 feet. Pretty darn good, if you ask me. So Pete Alonso's locked all the way in right now, and it couldn't come at a more important time, because we all agree. And Mets fans, let me know in the live chat and to our replay viewers, I'm sure you're going to answer this well. Alonso has not been the guy in the second half nearly as much as he was the guy in the first half. And that's been a problem, because outside of Juan Soto's historic pace that we're getting from him this season, the Mets' rest of the remainder of their offense has really been fickle on the consistency front. Alonso, not nearly as valuable as what we have seen in the first half, now has stepped up mightily over the past week of play. And if we can get a raging hot, a scorching hot polar bear, even though he's used to cold climates, heating up like the Florida man that he is, that is going to be pivotal for the Mets heading into postseason play. Because if Alonso can carry a hot bat or a lukewarm bat at minimum into the wild card, not only are we increased to see more of what we saw against Devin Williams in last year's wild card matchup, but we're going to get a Pete Alonso that can easily dictate a ball game in just one swing of the bat. The same way that Kyle Schwarber can take over a ball game at any point for the Philadelphia Phillies is the same way that Pete Alonso can most certainly do the exact same thing. So polar bear heating up could not come at a more important time. Mets up by 1-1 as we head to the second. It's a clean inning for Jonathan, who works around a Gavin Sheets single, and that included a nice strikeout on the breaking ball there, if I'm not mistaken, or it was the breaking ball or the fastball. Let's double check. It was the four-seam fastball down and in on Ryan O'Hearn. Four-seam fastball, something that you guys need to remember from Jonathan today. That is something that he did not use in his last start against the Texas Rangers. Was heavy secondary pitches, was spamming changeup and curveball like no tomorrow. He looked far from comfortable, and this came after giving up 3 home runs, 4 runs total on just 3 hits that we saw to the Reds in the batter's box in Cincy. They were all fastballs upstairs for the most part that were hit out of the ballpark. And mind you, some of them were no doubters and others just get out of the ballpark when in Cincy everything's flying out there fast. So Tong, after giving up home run balls that he hasn't done all year, for context, Tong has only given up 2 home runs in all the minor leagues this year. He gave up 3 in that single start to the Reds. So that's a big change, to say the least, from the dominance he had in the minor leagues. So naturally, Tong looked at that sample size, said to himself, okay, let's deviate heavily away from the four-seam fastball, but he deviated way too much. Instead of kind of just going from maybe having, for example, a split of 50% four-seam and then let's say go 20% changeup to maybe mixing it to 30% four-seam and increasing a more 25-30% changeup. Instead, he did a complete 180 and was going heavy changeup curveball usage, and he wasn't locating, which is why he was out of the ball game and 8 earned runs out of there in just 0.2 innings against DeGrom. Fast forward to present day in this start, Tong went out, toe the rubber, and looked like that previous start never happened. Dotting corners with that four-seam fastball, setting 94, 95 plus on the gun. He looked far more comfortable with his four-seam fastball than he looked at his debut against the Miami Marlins, most certainly more comfortable against the Cincinnati Reds, in which he still only allowed 3 hits in 6 innings. That is nothing to scoff at, mind you. Just unfortunate that all those hits were out of the ballpark. Then you look at that previous start, kick that one aside. We know Jonathan's talented. We know he's one of the best pitching prospects, if not the best pitching prospect in baseball. So no one should be overly shocked that Jonathan rebounded, because that further shows you the young, great fortitude that someone like him has at the age of 22. The sky's the limit for Jonathan. We know this, and he showed exactly why the Mets should be doing anything but counting him out for being utilized well in this rotation moving forward. Because as he got out of that second inning unscathed, we head to the bottom of the second inning, and the Mets do nothing. Terren's got the start today at catcher for the Mets over Alvarez, as we know. Louis back from his initial injury that dealt with getting beat up and hit by pitches. Ironic considering Alvarez has a big welt there on his arm elbow area from a hit by pitch. He took 100 miles per hour in the Mets game 1 victory against the Padres 48 hours ago. Nonetheless, we see in the third inning, Fernando Tatis Jr. gets on with a 1-out single, and then the throwing error by Tong unfortunately would allow them between that and the wild pitch would get Tatis from second to then third. So Jonathan has Nando at third with less than two outs, mind you. It's from a throwing error because he couldn't get the pickoff, and then what we saw in the wild pitch by Tong as well. 2 bugaboos by Jonah. How is Jonah going to respond by having that mental error? What does he do? He unfortunately would give up the sac fly, but it would stay that way. I think that's very notable because the sac fly happened by, in my opinion, one of the worst throws I've ever seen from Brandon Nimmo in center field. I love Brandon to death, but something that Brandon Nimmo and Cedric Mullins have in common is that they have noodles for arms in center field. Nimmo in left field isn't terrible as an arm, but in center, it's a little bit of a different story. Or in this case, in left today for Brandon Nimmo, it wasn't getting the job done either. So Nimmo, who, mind you, was shifted in part out of his usual role in center a couple years ago, not only to keep him healthy, but also because we know he doesn't have a great strength of an arm, try to utilize that to his ability in left today, and it still was not enough. That sac fly makes it a tied ball game, 1-1 for the Mets, and then Manny Machado would strike out swinging, thankfully, to end the inning, but not before we would see the Padres claw back and tie this one 1-1 apiece. As we then head to the bottom of the third inning there, Cedric Mullins gets on with a leadoff single. Mullins, who's finally starting to swing the bat more competently as of late. Lindor then gets on with a single, and some great base running by Francisco Lindor gets him on with a single. Seti goes first to third, and Lindor takes advantage and legs a single into a double. He's in there safely, and while Harrison Bader has been the Mets' father this year, if there's one thing that Harrison Bader has yet to figure out about his game, is how to properly comprehend when to try to leg a single into a double. This is something that Bader still does not do well. The Mets caught him in the act of trying to do that against the Mets, as a matter of fact, the last time they matched up, and Lindor looking fantastic by doing exactly that. So the Mets have runners at second and third with no outs here in the top of third. How would they And how they respond? Well, let's start with a Juan Soto ground out to give the Mets the lead, 2-1. A nice little ground out with Soto basically walks to first base because he knows the leading runner is going to come in. And Mullins, the Mets are up 2-1, and let's make it 5-1. After a Polar Bear Pete Alonso walk, we have ourselves runners at the corners, a couple out for Brandon Nimmo. What does Brandon Nimmo do, everybody? Nimmo does what no Mets batter has done with the home run galores that we have seen over the past 24 hours. Yesterday, we had 4 solo shots. Today, we began the ball game with a solo shot with Alonso again. Now, after that solo shot, finally, the 6th home run in a 24-hour span is the most pivotal one yet. Just like Manny Machado's home run took over the ball game yesterday, today it's Brandon Nimmo. What a big 3-run shot, 389 feet, roughly 105 off the bat for Brandon in the lefty-lefty matchup against the former Yankee Wandy Peralta, and it is gone. A big blast. I jumped out my seat when it first happened. Nimmo's home run on that changeup down and in gave the Mets a 5-1 lead, and they thankfully would never look back in this ball game, because after Nimmo puts the Mets up 5-1, we see McNeil get on with a 2-out walk, but that's all she wrote. Beatty pops out to end the inning. A clean 1-2-3 for Jonathan in the 4th inning. At the bottom of the 4th, the Mets do nothing. Then the 5th, it's another 1-2-3 for Jonathan, and Jonah is done today at just 82 pitches. Normally a pull that I would maybe give some gripes about, but I'm not going to do it today because 1, the bullpen was stellar, and 2, we don't know if maybe Ton was 1 inning away from really starting to get hit hard, and then everything would turn on its head, because again, he's inexperienced. We don't know how he's going to look every single time going beyond 5 innings. So Carlos Mendoza made the right moves today. We can all agree. I have nothing to complain about when it came to Mendy and his pitchers utilized today. I thought he did a very good job on making sure the Mets secured the victory in this one. Truthfully, same way I rag on Mendy is the same way that I'm going to praise him when I think he does stuff right. And nothing I saw today really had me as an over-complainer. Even if the Mets lost today, I don't know how much I would really blame Mendoza, depending on obviously the stats of how this game unraveled. But Jonathan's final line, everybody, you saw it, I saw it. Let's talk more about it. 5 innings of 1 unearned run, 0 earned run, 8 strikeout, 0 walk, 82 pitch baseball. Ton's ERA that initially entered this game well over an 8 finished today with a sub-6. His ERA now is at a 5.94, and hopefully after another big outing next time he's out there, Tong can get it back even to a greater, more reasonable number. So Jonathan's numbers today, when looking at his arsenal, everybody, how was he with his pitch usage? Like I said, he was brilliant with his 4-seam fastball. And he utilized his 4-seam a lot today. But the difference in how he utilized his 4-seam today versus previous starts, just look at the dotted inside corners. I think that's really important. Inside and outside, going low in the zone, not hammering solely upstairs, which is what we saw a lot of in that start against the Cincinnati Reds, where he did give up the long ball on 3 separate occasions. So you see how well he had the variation with his fastball up and in, as well as dotting those corners, or in this case, just striking him out middle, because he has a nasty heater that might sit 94, 95, but that little rise has it coming in a little bit deceptive, a little bit higher, more than 96 to 98 range. And Ton today, utilizing that 4-seam fastball, topped out 97 on the gun. We know he has the velo in the back pocket like no tomorrow. And he also sat right around 94 to 95 on the gun. So he's actually down across the board on his velo today by a mile per hour. Not that that's a problem at all, but just something to make note of. And he sat right around 2,300 on his spin rate today for the RPMs. His curveball, he utilized the second most today at 18% on the arsenal, topped out 2,700 and sat right around 2,600 on the spin rate, as he topped out 79 and sat right around 77 on the velocity. The changeup at 12% of his arsenal today, we saw topped out 86, sat right around 85, and we also saw the spin rate right around 1,700. The slider at 2%, topped at 87, sat right around there as well, and sat right around 2,200 on the spin rate. Guys, Jonathan looked fantastic across 5 innings today, no earned runs, and to bounce back this brilliantly after he was batting practice his last time out there, again, shows you the mental fortitude with a young player like him, and exactly why the Mets are far from done utilizing him this season. For all those reasons, and knowing that Jonah just made things a little bit easier for the Mets to make their pitching decisions moving forward, Ton gets, without a doubt, a rock solid 7.5 out of 10 for your guy Tyler. And I would argue even 8 as well. I'm just going 7.5 because we only got 5 innings out of him at the end of the day. But you know what? Actually, scratch it. I'm going to go 8 because I'm going to be a hypocrite, because I'm sure I gave Brandon Sproat probably north of an 8 out of 10 for his 6th inning outing. And he was only at 82 pitches. So who's not to say that Tong wouldn't have been good in 6 innings today? We just didn't get a chance to see it. So I'm going to retract my initial statement, something I usually don't do. And I'm going to say we're going to go 8 out of 10 for Jonah Tong today. In today's climate, knowing how difficult it is to get length from your starters, 1, and 2, just getting quality has been so fickle from this Mets team. For all those reasons, we're going to 8 out of 10 on Jonah Tong's final line grade today. You guys let me know in the live chat, and to all of our replay viewers, how would you grade Jonah Tong's final line after going 5 shutty, 8 strikeouts, a new career high there for the young 22-year-old who's just getting his major league career started. Thank you guys so much for hitting that like and subscribe on your way into our 300 concurrent live viewers. If you guys could help us get to our next short-term goal on the platform here of 35,000 subs, as we're just a couple hundred away, we're doing a jersey giveaway to whatever player you currently want on the roster. Could even be Jonah Tong if you want, to 1 lucky subscriber. Smash those buttons, help us get there, everybody, as well as to 300 plus likes at any point to our live and or reoccurring viewers. As we continue on in this Mets breakdown today, the Mets win this one handsomely by a final score of 6-1. And after Tong exits this ball game, Juan Soto continues what has been an absolutely ridiculous pace of offensive baseball. Soto right away off Kyle Hart as Wandy exits the ball game, and he rips his double, his 19th of the season off Hart. Mind you, Hart pitched in the first game of this series, and he went 2 shutty against the Mets and had 5 strikeouts. So this is a nice contrast, if you ask me. A nice double there right into the gap for Soto, puts a runner in scoring position. WardyNYM then gets on with a walk, and the Mets unfortunately do nothing with it. Mark Vientos strikes out, and Vientos had some tough at-bats today. What we have noticed with Vientos and his struggles as of late is he's just taken way too many fastballs. Way too many fastballs. And because of that reason, that is why I'm going to emphasize it right now. Mark, you can demolish these things. I know you can, baby. We just got to do a little bit better on not sitting too long on these pitches. Vientos, in my opinion, can be one of the most important bats in this entire Mets lineup if he just puts his right mind to it, the way that we've seen plenty, for the most part, going back to the start of August. If Vientos can continue to get himself right, like what we've seen with that clutch gene, more out of him in the second half this season, that'll do wonders for the length of this lineup, along with getting key production from guys like Brett Beatty, Francisco Alvarez, among others. As we get into the 6th inning, guys, Tyler Rogers had himself a 1-2-3 and right around 7 pitches or so. He was brilliant. Loving me some Tyler Rogers, who is absolutely the best player in that trade currently between himself, Drew Gilbert, Jose Budo, and one Blade Tidwell. Rogers, great job getting a couple lineouts and then a ground out. And you want to see how contrasting it is to go from a Jonah Tong to a Tyler Rogers, a guy who has a release point basically directly over his head, that 12 o'clock release there that you're getting from Jonah, to a sidearmer, a submariner, and Tyler Rogers, who's throwing right around, I don't know, I would say 3 o'clock would probably be the best way. You could probably say, maybe, I'm trying to think right now, 3-4-ish range for where his release point is. You guys are going to see it in the highlights with me. Shout out to Pitching Ninja for doing the overlay. You're going to see in a second. I'm going to show you guys here with me. That way you know. See that, look at that crazy overlay, guys. Like, that's actually insane. Look at that. Look at that difference. It's not even 3 o'clock. What I'm talking about, that's like 5 o'clock. That's crazy. Actually insane. So, yeah, if you're an opposing team, that's quite the adjustment you have to make to go from a 12 o'clock pitcher to a submariner right after. That's not easy to handle at all. And the Padres, thankfully, were not able to handle it whatsoever. And as we got beyond the 6th inning, and the bottom of 6, Yuki Matsui comes in, and he gets a 1-2-3 against this Mets team. And the 7th, we see Brooks Raley come in, and as he has done all season long, Raley gets the job done. If only we saw Raley get his final out the way that he should have been considered to do, instead of bringing in batting practice Reed Garrett a couple days ago, because that would have made that Ranger game a little bit different in my opinion. And Reed Garrett, as we know, looks like he's not going to pitch for the Mets again this season, and may not pitch for the Mets again for the next, I don't know, year? Yes. It looks like he's dealing with a significant injury, which I feel for Reed Garrett, and we're going to break that down more in content tomorrow. So make sure you guys are on the lookout for it. And I 100% agree. Anyone that's knocking Soto at this point is honestly an idiot. Like, I'm not even going to feel sorry by saying that. Like, you're literally just a troll. Juan Soto's on pace right now to have a greater offensive season than last year in the sense of home runs, stolen bases, in which he's already triple plus the amount he had as his career high that we saw from a couple years ago. Not last year, a couple years ago, mind you. The RBIs, he is 9 away from tying his season total from last year. He's at 100. In case you guys didn't hear that already, Soto's ground out earlier in this ball game was his 100th RBI of the year. Congratulations to Juan Soto. 41 home runs, 100 RBIs, 30 plus stolen bags in his first year as a New York Met. I'm sorry, not a single fan has a right to complain. I complain a lot, plenty. Oh, of course I was crying before, but this is where there's context, Carol, and that's something that I think gets misconstrued and honestly not emphasized enough when we break down an entire 162 of a season. You are absolutely allowed to criticize a player who underperforms to the degree that Soto did have parts in the first half, the same way that you can absolutely uplift the guy now that he has been the best hitter in all baseball, especially in the National League here in the second half, as on his way to getting the MVP votes, rightfully so. Soto has played fantastic, and the biggest difference with Soto that we have seen in the second half this season, especially since the start of August, is his ability to start to hit with runners in scoring position. The biggest gripe that every single fan this year, including myself especially, has had with Soto has been in great deal because of his incompetence with hitting with runners on. Soto is usually a stellar player with hitting with runners in scoring position. Career-wise, he's batting north of 300 in that regard. This season, he was batting below the Mendoza line for a good stretch, and at best the Mendoza line. It felt like this man could not hit with more than one runner on to save his life, and even that felt like it was pushing the needle a little bit. Since then, he's hit his second career grand slam, first as a New York Met. He's had massive hits that we've seen going into the gap, as well as home run galores now, and that's why he's already tied a season high, in which he will surpass his best that he had in his one-and-done year with the Yankees a year ago. So this is why we talk about Soto, because two things can be true at the same time. Players can go through bad stretches that we rightfully criticize and hope that they get out of, the same way that we can now properly uplift and appreciate how well of a job Juan Soto has done in his first year as a New York Met. Listen, if Soto's going to get paid $100 million gross between his base salary and his signing bonus, and that's exactly what he's making. No, that's not an understatement. It's insane. I know it is. If he can make that kind of money, at minimum, he should be performing eerily similar, if not to a T, like he has done in previous seasons. And thankfully, when you look at all of his numbers across the board at this point, they are near identical to what you expect from a prototypical Juan Soto season year in and year out. He's a less valuable player this year than what he was last year with the Yankees. That goes in hand with the runner in scoring position woes from the first half, as well as defense, but still loving what I'm seeing from Juan Soto. And the more he produces with the RBIs, the more he gets those runs up, the more we're going to continue to say to ourselves, oh my God, Juan Soto is really a New York Met. And speaking of Juan Soto, everybody, the former San Diego Padre, he had himself a damn good series against his Padres squad. And as we continue to the bottom of the seventh inning, Francisco Lindor would get on there with a leadoff walk. Juan Soto, speaking of the devil, would get on with a no-out single. So there's 2-1, no out for Pete Alonso. What does Pete Alonso do, everybody? Alonso would get himself a sac fly. Because, yeah, somehow, some way, Juan Soto got Lindor first to third yet again, because Lindor's brilliant base running was all over the map in this ball game. I can't get over how good Lindor looked running the bases today. You know how Lindor had that really bad base running blunder like a week and a half ago, where he was thrown out twice in the same game? Since then, he really hasn't had any much of a liability there, which is good to say. 6-1 is the Mets lead at this point. They would go on to win by a final score 6-1, but before this inning ends, and before Nimmo and Vientos unfortunately struck out back-to-back, not great at-bats there, Juan Soto stole his 33rd bag of the season. For context, everybody, Juan Soto's career high in stolen bases entering this season was 12. 12! He has 33, guys. And he only had 7 last year. He has, what, at least 3 times the amount, if not more than that, right? Because 7, 14, 21, 20, yeah! Kind of crazy. Kind of crazy how good of a base running year Juan Soto's had. That's all been credited to Mets first base coach that you guys know well by now, Antoine Richardson. Antoine has not only built a great philosophy for base running for Soto to get the right jump at the right time, but he's done exactly that with Lindor, among many others, for a Mets team that is the slowest roster in baseball, yet has been the most proficient and the most effective with their base running. If you want to know more about that, everybody, please check out a YouTube video by a friend of mine in the community that I wish nothing but the best for, and that is No More Fielders. Look up a YouTuber named No More Fielders. You will find a video by his truly in which he broke down with some great input from guys like Drafted Marcus, him and their buddies as well, to break down how the Mets are the best base running team in baseball while being the slowest. It doesn't make sense, but he does a great job on making it make sense for you guys, and I want you all to make sure to check out his work because he does a very good job for MLB-wide content. No More Fielders, check him out. He didn't ask for the plug, but he's going to get it. I hope he sees this at some point. As we get to the 8th inning, everybody, we see Gregory Soto come in, and Soto had some terrible luck here. Gregory, that is, because, listen, I know Gregory hasn't pitched his best baseball over the past couple weeks. He's been very Jekyll and Hyde on why he's gone with the Mets. He especially did not look good against the Philadelphia Phillies that we saw at his former team. However, Jay Cronenworth got on with a single because it hit off of Soto. Then we saw another single happen because it hit off Soto. Two comebackers from Crony and Nando have runners at the corners with 2 out for Luis Arise. The Padres have a chance to do something here. Instead, Arise grounds out, Soto gets out of his own mess in the infield with the blunder, and we head to the bottom of the 8th inning, where the Mets go down 1-2-3. Then we see Edwin Diaz on the top of the 9th. He strikes out Manny Machado like the snap of the finger, that quick, that easy on the slider. And what I love so much is that he got him on the slider down and away. Your prototypical let's spam slider down and away on a guy when we know we got him. And that's exactly what he did on full count, mind you, which I thought was impressive because it was 3-1 to begin it. So he did a really good job on working himself back in that count. Then Jackson Merrill strikes out as well. Jackson had a home run, but that's pretty much all she wrote in the series. That and a double, I believe. Not a terrible series at all for Jackson, who obviously has been up and down versus his great rookie campaign. We saw him strike out there on the four-seam fastball upstairs. 97, not throwing 100, but it didn't matter. Edwin got the job done. And last but not least, Ramon Oriano popped out there to Brett the Hitman Beatty, and that did it for the ball game, everybody. Again, the Mets go on to win this one by a final score of 6-1. They have more control in their playoff destiny than what was otherwise the case that we spoke 72 hours ago or so you can't be complaining about that. And now as we look ahead for this Mets team and take a greater step back as to what they were able to do in this series, guys, again, the Mets just secured a series over the San Diego Padres, a Padres team that absolutely curb stomped them in San Diego not long ago. So for them to take 2 out of 3 is vital to do this at home now. Now the Mets will get set for a big gauntlet of a series I'll be beginning as soon as tomorrow. And honestly, what could easily be a series in which the Nationals play spoiler. We've seen it far too often. The Nationals play up to the Mets and the Mets play down to the Nats. That needs to change. And we need the dominance of Brennan Sproat and Noel McClain to hold true to help secure a series W over the next couple days. But for now, the Mets again are a couple games up on the Diamondbacks, almost 3 games up on the Giants and the Reds separately. So now, everybody, that's what we saw in the results. Let's get on to the pitching. We talked about Jonathan. I went with an 8 out of 10 for his final line grade today. Mets bullpen was fantastic. They allowed 2 hits. So because they allowed 2 hits, they can't go full 10 out of 10. But bullpen on a 4-inning outing was as advertised, better than advertised. Because if it's as advertised, it wouldn't be as good right now. Let's be honest here. So I'm going to go with a rock solid 9 out of 10 for the Mets bullpen. They were really good. I'm sorry. I can watch Tyler Rogers and Brooks Raley pitch back-to-back innings every single day of the week. I'm grateful for the following. 1, Brooks Raley's under contract next season. That's a big deal. We need Raley back. Secondly, Tyler Rogers is a free agent at the end of the season. Bring him back. I know Rodgers hasn't been perfect every time out there, but since when is every reliever perfect every time out there that isn't a dominant closer like Edwin Diaz? Like, that just simply doesn't happen usually. So I really do hope that we can see Tyler Rogers utilized again next season. I really hope that this is not just a one-and-done stop for him in New York. Obviously, it'll come down to his price point, the Mets' interest to bring him back, and his willingness to return to this team. And you'd have to imagine that maybe how the season ends will go in hand with the potential interest from both sides of the party here, but still loving what I'm seeing from them. Gregory Soto, I'm fine if he returns. I'm fine if he doesn't. I think that's what I've gathered with Gregory Soto. I love having a more flame-throwing lefty in this bullpen. I think that's a very good thing for this team to have. I think it's a perfect contrast from more of a soft tosser like a Brooks Raley. But I also know that Gregory Soto, for as good as he can also be pretty bad at times. So that's why he has right around a 4-year rate this season. He can be very hit or miss in what you're getting. You know, I would say Gregory Soto is like a higher upside Ryan Stanek is a way that I would put him. High velo type, high momentum type pitcher. However, can definitely get rocked and be susceptible against good teams if he is not controlling the zone well. So, why does Wardy call him Tong? How else would you like me to call him, Dano? I don't know how else to say it. Tong? Do you want me to go gl every single time at the end? That way you heard the G properly? Will that make you happy, Dano? If so, I'm still not going to do it for you, but I appreciate your concern. That's what we got from the Mets pitching there, everybody. From the Mets hitting, it was as follows. Let's get into it and let's break it down together, everybody. As we would see, it starts with Francisco Lindor, who had himself a one-hit day and 2 runs scored in this one, a 265 average, a 793 OPS. Beyond that, we see Juan Soto with his multi-hit game today, a 263 average, 922 OPS. The polar bear in Pete Alonso with his 37th home run this season, a couple RBIs, a 270 average, and 871 OPS. Nimmo, 1 for 3 with the 3 RBIs, a 261 average, a 768 OPS with his big bomb, hitting now 24 to 25 on the season, which you love to see. Vientos, 1 for 4, but 3 strikeouts for Marky V. Swaggy V wasn't swagging today, 237 average, 716 OPS. McNeil over 3, 251 average, 766 OPS. Beatty did not get a hit today for the Hitman, but he's looking very good, all things considered. As we get into this, Beatty, 257 average, 755 OPS. Terrence, 222 average, 626 OPS. And Mullins, 1 for 3 today with a run score, 219 average, 701 on the OPS. The Mets out hit the Padres that we saw, 7-6, and the Mets also didn't do a whole lot with runners in scoring position today, but thankfully they didn't really need to either. They went 1 for 7 and left 5 on base. Now, everybody, let's get on to Wardy's player of the series. You know, there were a lot of key performers that we noticed in this series. I'm going to give you guys two different standouts in this series, in my humble opinion. 2 guys that I thought did more than enough to get the job done for the squad. And I'm going to start here with the offense, because while there were a lot of key standouts offensively in this series, a lot, you know, and I'm double checking right now just to make sure that I know exactly who stood out most out of this group right now. I think I have to go with the bat that has the most home runs over the past 4 games, and that is Mr. Pete Alonso, guys. Alonso with a home run every single game of this series. 4 home runs over his past 4 games should not be slighted. To get Pete Alonso heating up the way that he is right now is significant, because as I mentioned before, and I will say it again, if the Mets can get someone like Alonso playing more of his sharpest baseball and not a slog of a double play merchant that we've seen time and time again, then we know things are going to be in the right direction for him, and hopefully the Mets' odds of doing something special here come postseason play. So I'm going to go with the polar bear, Pete Alonso, and what was a very good series for Pete. Let's take a look at how many hits Alonso had in this series as a whole. We saw in Game 2 he had 2 hits, including his home run. We saw in Game 1 of the series, in which the Mets won 8-3, Alonso had himself 2 hits as well that we saw with the home run. And then today, we saw Alonso with 2 RBIs, 1 home run, as well as, did Alonso have 1 or 2 hits here? He had himself 1 hit today for the Mets, 2 RBIs with a sac fly and the solo shot. I am going with Alonso as my offensive standout, and I would love to know who your offensive player of this series is, everybody watching live on a replay. Let's hear it. Because my pitcher of the series is going to be Jonathan. I got to give it to him. I think it's so impressive for Tong to come out here and not just look good, look great in his 5-inning sample size, okay? Because how many times could we have seen a guy like Tong not get the job done after getting rocked his last time out there? Like, there's a great reality where Tong is a nervous Nelly and can't even pitch well at the major league level again after getting rocked the way they did against the Texas Rangers. But no, that is not what happened. Far from it. And I think not only how impressive it was for Tong to bounce back as good as he did, pairing that with the fact that he now has a career-high 8 strikeout outing, did not walk a single batter, and did not allow a single earned run, all cultivated to, in my opinion, the most important pitching performance out of this entire series. Just think about it. How many games have the Mets comfortably won this year on a series finale on a day game. Little to none, it feels like. It really hasn't happened all that often. And when it has happened, the Mets haven't had offense. Or when it has happened, the Mets haven't had great pitching. So they really haven't had these things at all in unison, which has been a great story of their season with a lot of other woes. But at least we can say now today, comfortably, the Mets won this series. They secured it on a day game at Citi Field. Jonathan won 5 brilliant innings for you. The bullpen was more than stellar. And this offense did what they needed to do. They just got enough done and then added a little bit more just for the nice little cherry on top, the little insurance. So Tong is my pitcher of the series after going 5 shutty. Pete Alonso with a 5-hit series and a 3 home run series against the Padres will be my hitter of the series. So guys and gals, let me know who your player of the series, pitcher of the series will be, from offense to pitching and everything in between there. I greatly appreciate that. Let's continue on, everybody, and let's see what we got here. If there's any keynotes to share in Metsland from X here in a second, then we'll get to answering more of your comments, questions, and concerns, anything that you guys got for me in Metsland. But as I mentioned, I will break down in great length what is going on with guys like Kodai Senga, Tyrone Taylor, Reed Garrett, and everything else in Metsland, along with a series preview and content that'll drop early tomorrow. Jojo, thank you so much for the kind words. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for being a great member. We appreciate you in here. We really, really do. To double check here, everybody, let me go on X quick and see if there's any good remarks that we saw, maybe from Tom, from the media itself. I show some of these and usually in our morning recap video the day after of going over all these hot-button topics, but there might be some things today, right here, right now, that I want to relay everybody's way. So let's go ahead and let's do exactly that. Let's see some remarks here from Jonathan today, everybody, and see what he had to say.
Jonah, what were you able to do so effectively bouncing back today?
Threw a lot more strikes. No, I just think it's from the very first pitch, just having the confidence to just attack hitters and feel like I did a better job of this time around. I'm really grateful for the support I have in the clubhouse and especially the vets and just hearing their input and definitely boosted the confidence for sure.
Maybe to that point, just what were the last 6 days like for you preparing? I can imagine you were very eager to get back out there.
Yeah, every day I was just like, all right. But no, just treat it like a normal start. And yeah, there's always anticipation every time you go out. So I'm just got excited.
I love the confidence. That's huge. That was exactly why I amplified him as the pitcher of the series, guys. It's this kind of confidence that if Jonathan can lock in, along with Brandon Sproat, along with Noah McLean, step right up and meet this Mets rotation, baby. 25 and under is what we got to call them. That's what I'm going with. That's what I'm going with, actually. We're running that right now. The 3-headed monster of the Mets, 25 and under, moving forward. That's got to be the line. I actually love that for them. Kind of crazy. It's only going to last a year until Sproat turns 26 next September, but he just turned 25, so we're going to go with it. 25 and under, the 3-headed monster, and Sproat, McLean, and Tong. I am damn excited to see Sproat toe the rubber tomorrow. You know, the same way that I've really looked forward to Jonathan starting today. How would he respond, retaliate, bounce back, if you will? It's the same way that I get so excited about McLean. And I was on the phone with my brother earlier today throughout the Mets game, and something that he said, which I wholeheartedly agree with, is that a guy like McLean puts, pardon my French, he puts your ass in your seat in a way that you're locked in a Jacob deGrom-esque fashion. A way that when it's Harvey Day, you know that you're locked in not just to watch the Mets hopefully win a ball game, but to watch dominance and truly something brilliant on the mound by your starter. Since the Mets have been without Jacob deGrom, we can all agree, we haven't really had many of those moments over the past couple of years. We've had flashes, but if we're being frank, how many starters have we genuinely looked forward to seeing go out there and like carve up on the daily? Outside of being really excited about the early debuts of like Clint Holmes to begin this season, you know, Sean Manaea after he made his arm slot change in the second half last year, the resurgence of Kodai Senga in the first half this year, you know, outside of that, there really has been a lot of moments where we could say to ourselves, oh, I'm getting to watch this Mets starter today. But no longer is that the case. I feel like moving forward, as long as Sproat continues to be as advertised, I cannot wait to watch Brandon Sproat tomorrow. And if he gets rocked, it is what it is. It's unfortunate. But listen, Buddy has pitched 12 innings of 3 earned run baseball to begin his major league career. That's pretty damn good if you ask me. Noel McLean is the first Mets starter in franchise history to have his first 6 or so career starts of 5 innings or more of 2 earned run baseball or less. He's separating himself fast as one of, if not the best young right-hander of a rookie in all Major League Baseball. Then Jonathan, who's 22 years of age, who's pretty much in a class of his own. How many other 22-year-olds are you seeing towing the rubber right now and looking as good as Jonathan did today? The answer to that is slim to none. So combine these 3. If this works out the way that we hope and pray can work out as Mets fans, then we have something very excited about for the remainder of the season heading into postseason play. Because as crazy as it is to fathom, I as a fan do really not hate the idea of relying on the kids as long as the kids showcase their ability to be relied on. And I know it's a lot to figure out in a very short, quick turnaround of a sample size. So listen, they could dominate the remainder of the regular season for the next 8-9 games that they have and then get rocked in postseason. And then we say to ourselves, listen, this was the risk that we took by relying on unreliable or inexperienced starters, mind you. And that is the nature of the beast. I can't really fault them. It is what it is, you know? So what I can say is that to this point, we should be very encouraged from what we have gotten from these young rookie right-handers. And seriously, major tip of the cap to every single one of them, especially Jonah, but every single one of them to come out when they know damn well the stats of the Mets season. You know, they may say that they don't care about those things, but of course they are very aware of what is going on. Alex Flores, my guy, happy to have you in the chat. I appreciate that. You have a valid argument. This is just what I would like to see, heck. Daniel Murphy plays say, there's a back and forth going on in the chat. I got you. When we look at this rotation, we really have to appreciate their ability to take on this pressure without an issue. With the exception of Tong getting rocked with Jacob deGrom towing the rubber. I honestly think Tong just felt like how any other young baseball fan would feel turning pro, saying, oh my God, I'm towing the rubber against Jacob deGrom and his return to Citi Field on a Friday night in a game that means far more to the Mets than it does feels like anyone else. You know, that's a tall task, and not everyone's going to be able to step up to that, and that's okay. I'm actually in part glad Tong had that adversity, because if he does look good his next time out there, and so, let's say hypothetically Jonathan looks good every time he's out there until postseason, and the Mets decide to utilize Tong in postseason, that terrible outing against the Rangers will be something that he can look back and lean on and say to himself, I've been in these high-pressure moments before, and I know what I did wrong, and I know where my mentality was at, where I overthought too much, and I couldn't find a comfortable groove. He already went through that level of adversity, and I think for him to hit that now versus potentially having it hit for the first time in postseason will bode him 10 times greater than anything else. So, God willing, things continue to trend in the right direction for Brandon Sproat, Noel McLean, and Jonathan, because 2 of those 3 toe the rubber over the next couple of games against the Washington Nationals. So I'm excited to see how that's going to go. I'm sure you guys are as well. Now let's see if there's any remarks that we got that were notable from Carlos Mendoza today on Jonathan. He has some remarks here on Juan Soto. Here's on Tong. This is what I want to hear from Mehdi today.
Carlos, what did you learn about Jonah today, the way that he bounced back from his last outing?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to like after that last outing. And even today, the first couple of innings, they put together some really good at-bats. He was kind of like scatter there. Obviously, we made a huge play on that first inning. But the way he, we're talking about bouncing back from the last outing, but bouncing back from the first couple of innings, and then settling in nicely. That's kind of like the guy we saw at the minor league level pretty much the whole year, getting swing and misses with the fastball at the top, the changeup, the curveball, attacking. It was pretty impressive.
Carlos, what did you learn about
A lot of statistical milestones. Just what would you make of his? Juan Soto had his 100th RBI today. Obviously, has reached a lot of statistical milestones. Just what would you make of his first season with the Mets at this point?
It's special, a special player, special person. I mean, he's really unbelievable when you look up in the scoreboard and you look at the numbers, and he only is going to get better. But again, you ask him, and he's not satisfied, and he's all about winning games. He's great that he's putting all the numbers, but he's not here for that. He's here to win. So I'm glad that he's on our side. But man, he's pretty special when I always said that people stop doing what they're doing to watch him hit. And then today, not trying to do too much, second and third, nobody out, just a team at bat there. You know, let me get the guy in, the guy over. That's baseball. You know, like he could be easily just be swinging for the fences there, but that's what the game was dictating there, and he took it.
Juan Soto had his 100th.
Some nice remarks there from not Juan Soto, in regards to Juan Soto, from Mets skipper Carlos Mendoza. And before I wrap it up, everybody, and get out of here, because I am going to get set, I got to do my recording for Bleacher Report for you guys to check out. I also want to make sure that I have everything in line, all my ducks in a row, to make sure that I drop my content early for you guys tomorrow. Again, guys, for those that are unaware how we're going to go about our weekend content plans, let me enlighten you. We will have a video that drops early in the day tomorrow. It can drop as early as 9 or 10 a.m., or at absolute latest, we would see it drop at like 1 or 2 p.m., but more than likely in the AM, barring changes as of now. Secondly, we will have a post-game show directly after the conclusion, win, lose, or draw, with Brandon Sproat towing the rubber. This Saturday, that midday game around 4 o'clock, we may have a video that drops in the AM. Not a guarantee, but it may in fact happen, as well as post-game show per usual. We will have no video dropping the AM on Sunday because of the fact that it's going to be a 1 or 1:40 day game, but we will have a video dropping after directly, a post-game show, win, lose, or draw, hopefully after the Mets stay secure a series sweep. In between, you guys can check out my daily work that I have for Bleacher Report every single day in the BR app, head to the Mets, as well as be on the lookout in case I find myself doing any segments with the New York Post Sports YouTube channel at all in the near future. I did a segment with them in studio this past week or so. The next stuff I do with them is yet to be determined, but we are cooking up things as we speak, especially as we get ahead for potential postseason run here. So be on the lookout, everybody. We have things cooking, and as I've been telling you all for a while, this has been, I feel like, a good stretch of the season. But you know how I've given you guys little nuggets throughout our post-game shows of like being on the lookout. We have some exciting things coming, and we have dropped those respective exciting things throughout the year. Well, those exciting things are really coming together, and we will be seeing some of them officially announced as we get into postseason play. So I really look forward to exactly what all those things are going to be, and the future of WardyNYM, what we do here on the platform, and what I myself will be doing in the content space moving forward. A lot of exciting things, all good things, all things I think every Mets fan should be excited about if you guys have been enjoying my kind of content over the past 5.5 years. So thank you guys again. I greatly appreciate it. The Mets go on to win this one by a final score of 6-1. And before I get out of here, I just want to thank you guys again so much to everyone that takes the time to watch live on our replay. It really does mean a lot to know how much of a recurring base and new followers that we continue to hit every single week of every single month here of every single year on the WardyNYM platform. So as always, everybody, I'm signing out. No matter what, let's effing go Mets, baby. Let's take this big series dub and carry that into something greater, hopefully, that we can see beginning as soon as tomorrow. The Mets win this ball game. They have quietly won now. I mean, they're 500 over the past like 4 games or so, so it really isn't much. But the Mets can win their next 2, then they're on a 3-game winning streak. If they can secure the sweep, then they're on a 4-game heater, folks. With 8 to 9 games left to play this season, it is now time for the Mets to put up or shut up. Thankfully, after shutting up a day prior, they were able to put up today and step up when this team needed it most. Let's see now what is next for the team in Queens. Thank you guys again, and I'll see you again real soon. Peace out, everybody.